Hey, this is Steven from RC Engineering, and welcome to a new episode of my development series. I guess you could say this is quote unquote new season. This is talking about something that I really want to kind of push forward here, developing in the next few months here. I wanted to be able to have a platform to do some scene recording, I guess you could say, or some aerial photography, I guess you could call it. So I've been doing a lot of research on my off time on how exactly to go about doing that. I don't know if you guys know, but I have a FC40 Phantom, as you can see on this first screen here. Let me see if this has got some pictures of it. Yeah, so I got an FC Phantom, which was released back in 2014, I believe. Um, it's basically a Phantom 1. They called it the Phantom version 1.1.1. And it came with this little 720p feather-like, quote-unquote, camera. It did 720p, 30 frames per second HD, and you could look at the live preview over Wi-Fi. So my original thoughts to build it was to, obviously my channel is more about budget builds than it is about spending a whole bunch of money. So what I wanted to do was look at what I could do to build a aerial photography quad that it competes or is better than a Mavic Air Pro or a Spark, right? Depending on what platform size I wanted to do. So basically, and what would I have to go about doing that, and how much would that cost competitively to be on that level? So I really do like the Mavic Air. Let me show you guys that. Okay, for first, let's say why the hurdles to get the FC40 to where it needs to be a really competitive aerial photography platform. The number one problem that I have, I mean, everything else on it is fine. Motors are fine, pops are fine, thrust is fine, battery. I'll talk a little bit about some of the mods I planned on doing into it. But here are some of the things that will cause problems with that. So the FC40, the camera itself runs on 2.5 gigahertz. So they actually, to avoid interference, they actually pushed the controller to a 5.8 gigahertz band controller. While that's pretty much counterintuitive to, it's basically opposite of anything that we fly in RC. Usually when we fly RC in DSM-X, FlySky, FrSky, what else is there? FlySky, FrSky, DSM-X, yeah. That's pretty much it. Those are all 2.5 gigahertz bands. And then our FPV is over 5 plus gigahertz bands, 5.8 gigahertz band. So what that means is that if I did put on like a GoPro or something like that, and I was transmitting, I would have to transmit over the 2.5 gigahertz band, because if I transmit over the 5.8 gigahertz band, it's gonna interfere with my controller, with the receiver inside the quad itself. Basically, you're gonna get like from the camera right into the receiver of the drone. It's gonna kind of go like that, like a loop. Theoretically, obviously, the protocol should be pretty hard to do that, because you have, whenever there's interference there, it's gonna jump. It's gonna jump to a new frequency to try to find a frequency without interference on it. Just like you do when you fly FPV and you see a channel with somebody else's video on it, you're gonna change the channel. Similar controllers have protocols where they jump frequencies and tell the controller that they're gonna jump frequencies, and then they try it to see if interference, and then if there is, it's gonna jump frequency again. So it may or may not be a problem. I might have to try it to see if it actually interferes. I might just stick a transmitter on there and be transmitting and see if it actually interferes, because that will save me a lot of trouble. So that's the problem. Is that another option is I could do a 2.5 gigahertz band receiver, and then I would put an external receiver on my VR 006s to be able to receive a 2.5 gigahertz band because my goggles are 5.8 gigahertz band. Yeah, and then obviously the smaller band generally is farther distance. So even if I did do that, the controller is very, very limited distance over the 5.8 gigahertz band. The controller I think is only rated. Is only rated for like 300 meters or something like that. Basic parameters. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think that, so you'll see here 5.8 gigahertz remote control, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi camera, and then you use the first person view, low latency live preview, which is completely a lie. It's crazy laggy. I mean, it's not laggy if you're right in front of yourself, but other than that, yeah. Communication distance open area, whether it's 400 meters or 800 meters. For me, I went straight up for a test one time, and I think I only went to 2,500 feet. I think it was like half a mile. So 400 times 3.3. Yeah, so it's got. I probably pushed it all the way up to the 800. So I'm probably on the FCC regulation here. Yeah, so 2,500 feet, 2,600 feet. So we're pushing the 125 milliwatt frequency here. I mean 125 watt transmission power. But the problem is that it's 5 point. Let me see if I could. DJI Phantom 1 specs. Okay. See here, compared to the 2.5 gigahertz band, that's rated for 1,000 meters. So that's why you're limited on a lot of the travel. Is that the 5.8 gigahertz is generally for like high bandwidth. It's for like a lot of information. You know, that's why when you go home and you have a 2.5 and a 5.8 gigahertz router, more power, more transmission, right? But it doesn't penetrate through walls very well. It doesn't penetrate through distance very well. It doesn't, what is it called? Propagate. It doesn't propagate through the air very well. So, even at that transmission power, you're only going to get 800 meters max, right? Here you get at least 1,000 meters. I'm going to say minimum of 1,000 meters on the FCC, and you're probably even lower power, lower transmission power. Here's power consumption. It's in decibel, so you would have to convert that. But here you could say 0.0. It's pretty low. This is 300 milliwatt. The other one, and that's 300 milliwatt. Obviously, that's including, yeah. So, anyways, it's, you get way further distance with the 2.4. So that is obviously that's 3.3 times 1,000, right? So there's 3.3 feet per meter. So that's 3,300 feet, which is way better. That's another 3,300. That's another 800 feet, right? That's another 80 stories. You go up or across, right? So number one, I would want to change this over to 2.5. So there's a few things that you could do for that. You could, I've seen some people put in a different receiver inside, and then that would be ideal. It would be really nice if I could fly all my planes on one receiver. So what I plan on getting here pretty soon is I plan on, once the budget comes up, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I do a budget of RC for the channel and for myself. I give myself $20 budget per week to spend on the channel and RC stuff. So once that goes up to $70, I'm going to buy a Jumper version 1, which is it's a deviation jumper controller, which has the multi-protocol. You can pretty much fly anything on it. And then I'll probably save up till the Jumper version 2 goes down, and then be able to buy that and put on a long-range module in the back and be able to fly long-distance stuff. But that will probably be later on, because the Jumper version 1 is going down in price, and as you know, I'm into budget stuff. So I could put a, I think they're running FrSky receivers inside that is similar to the protocol that they use. I think they're using just S-Bus receivers. So with that guy, I'll be able to do that. As you guys know, I mainly fly DSMX right now, but if I did that, I'd be able to fly it from that controller because that controller could fly anything. So put that on here and then pump up the transmission power on that controller and then get probably this 1,000 meters. Obviously way less than the Mavic Air. Excuse me. So another problem is let's go ahead and look at the Mavic Air. Alright, so another problem is look at the size compared to the Mavic, compared to this guy is huge, whole size with 4 prop guards. It's 575.5 millimeters, and I believe it's square. So compared to the DJI Mavic, folded. So when you're transporting it, it's 168 by 83, right? So it's only a 213 millimeter diagonal distance in a Mavic Pro. So let's go ahead and look at all these DJI Mavic Pro. So now if we go in here and we look at the specs, well, I had a little bit there, but the Mavic Pro is a 335 millimeter cross section. So you can see that the Mavic Air is tiny compared to the Mavic Pro, and the DJI Phantom is slightly bigger cross section than the Mavic Pro. Obviously, the more wide the base is on the on the quad, the more weight it could pick up, and also the more efficient the props are and the motors. Because we went over on the if you guys haven't seen it, and if you guys are not regular viewers on the channel, I do this thing called Rule of Thumb series, and in one of the series I talk about motor efficiency with regards to props. So go ahead and check that out. But basically, the bigger the prop and the slower you spin the prop, the more efficient the prop is, the longer flight times you have, the smaller battery you can fly with, the lighter weight it is, and there increase the flight time. So the Mavic Pro obviously is going to fly with way bigger props than the Mavic Air. But the Mavic Air, the main thing that I really like about the Mavic Air is that it is really, really small when it folds up. So let me see if it should show that. So here it says 4K 100 megabits per second video. And you see here without high dynamic range, all that stuff. Yeah, so this is the main feature about the Mavic Air that I really like, and obviously the camera is super savage, right? 100 megabit 4K, right? With HDR, 12 megabit stills and 8 gigs. This thing will rip through. But anyways, this is the main feature that I like about it. So this feature is really, really hard to get inside the Phantom because you cannot. I've looked at some videos where they go inside, and I might even pop it open for one of these videos in this season, I guess you could call it. The boards are pretty long, so like the ESC boards are like pretty much 3/4 of this length, 3/4 of this length. The whole center is the main board, so it's really, really hard to build if I was gonna like 3D print another frame, it's very hard to get it to come together and be more portable, because that's the problem with the Phantom, is that it's definitely not very portable at all, and it's very hard to make it portable. Even if you took off the gimbal, which I would definitely put on a gimbal, and then take off the legs, it's still really hard to transport, because it would be really nice if these arms would come in. Even if these arms came in, even if they just rotated, like this one rotated this way, this one rotated that way, that one rotated the other way, and this one rotated in this way. it would be super beneficial. So what I'm talking about here, this is one idea that I had to build another frame. So let's say you have the Phantom. Let's draw the Phantom. So the Phantom, you know, you have like a circle, right? It's obviously not that way, but let's say this arm would fold in this way, this arm would fold in this way, this arm would fold in this way, this arm fold in this way, and then you have like a little square. But the square would be all that you're losing is just this width here. You're losing this length, which is 2 times this projected, this one right here. You would lose it on this side and on the top. So it would be quite a bit smaller. And then when you opened it up, it would still have huge props, crazy efficiency, because I think those guys run, I think these guys run like almost 12-inch prop, like 8-inch or 9-inch props. So this guy is definitely a beast for flight time. Even with flight times, the problem is that the frame itself is heavy. So even with the prop cards at 20 grams each, that's another 80. That's another 80 grams, right? So the Phantom is heavy. The Phantom definitely needs to lose weight somehow, some way. Maybe cut a whole bunch of stuff out of the fuselage itself to lose weight to increase flight times, because it still only flies for 20 minutes. Right now the 2200 on the Phantom 1. Right, but obviously the FC40. The Phantom 1 with a 2200 milliamp hour 3-cell will only get me about 18 minutes. Compared to the Mavic Pro, which here they even put down like 20 max hovering time 24 minutes. On the Phantom, I could only get about 18 minutes or less. Obviously flying. Overall flight time in normal flight, 21 minutes. That's still more than what I get on the Phantom. For obviously, I think the Mavic Air has a way bigger battery. Wi-Fi intelligent battery. So yeah, massive size. It's almost twice the size. So obviously, this guy does not have. Oh, this is Mavic Pro. Mavic Air. So obviously, this guy is about similar size, but its efficiency is way lower, and also is powering the camera. And by the way, the Phantom, the 18 minutes, that's without any sort of camera or gimbal or any sort of setup like that on it. So let's look at the Mavic Air. Mavic Air's got a 2375, and what does Mavic Air get? So this is similar to what I run on the Phantom. And then this is max flight time, no wind, 21 minutes at a consistent 25 kph. So that's 21 minutes right there. And I'm saying that I get maybe 18 of just hovering on the Phantom. So I guess you could say that's even longer. Max hovering time, no wind. Yeah. So you probably get even more. But the main thing that I like the most is this folded. Okay, so here's option. We're a little bit past halfway in this video. So here's option that I'm considering. If I do not want to tear down this Phantom, the FC40, which again on eBay, I mean they're not really worth much at all, anyways. I mean the only time that they're really worth anything is if they have a crap load of stuff that comes with it. So here I'm seeing like one for, they want like $150 and they're gonna pay $100 for shipping. That's like mainly the max that I've seen on here for the Phantom itself. So yeah, and then but luckily parts and stuff for it are pretty cheap, and because they're really, it's old drone, you know, stuff's pretty cheap. And of course this is with everything. The charger, which I do really like the charger. I definitely want to keep the charger. The existing battery, which I've obviously just destroyed at this point, it's gone. I've already thrown it away, I believe. Controller and the FC40 camera. So another option is to build a a custom DIY Phantom using software similar to Betaflight called iNav. So let me go ahead and show you guys. Let me see if I can find that video I watched. So here's the video I watched. This is super sweet. So this guy basically built a custom Phantom. This is some sort of antenna, I guess. So he put together this Phantom and it's running iNav, which is similar to Betaflight, but it's set up completely for GPS features. And you can see way more power than the standard Phantom. GPS lock is crazy nice. Stability is really, really nice. It's great for a little platform. Also, they have gimbal support, and you can fly them on your regular F3s and attach external ESCs and T motors and a battery to. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, but it would be in a Mavic. It would be a Mavic Air size, so something that's almost the size of a cell phone. Which here, let's see, 168. 168 is about a little bit over 6 inches folded. So about 6-inch length, which is about a little bit bigger than my phone. I have a Droid Turbo 1. That's about 155 millimeters. Okay, and then about how wide? My phone's about it's basically the size of a cell phone. My phone's about 79 millimeters. And then unfolded, it adds another 182 millimeters, which is slightly bigger than my phone. And then you have a diagonal distance of 213. I think that's plenty decent size. I did do the math on it as far as the trig, because you have, I think it was like the DJI Phantom's 350, the Spark is like a 180 or something like that. I think it's a 180 diagonal distance. The Air is a 213 and the Mavic Pro is a 335, which is really, really close to the DJI Phantom. So Mavic Pro does not fold, similar to the Phantom. If I was going, I would definitely not be building something similar to the Mavic Pro. I would just upgrade the Phantom. Way cheaper, quicker, easier to do. In this case, definitely go with something like the Mavic. So some of the features that I would like to have on it. Number one is obviously foldable, and then this is assuming I'm going to build my own, right? Foldable arms. 4K, obviously. We'll talk about camera options here in a second. But I want to run at least 6-inch props, which, if it's even like the Mavic, it will reach 6 inches. It'll reach 6 inches. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here, if we have the Mavic, let's just say that it's like that, right? Let's just say it's the same rectangular kind of rectangular cross section. So this is 168 millimeters, right? And then this is 83. Right? So if we have the arms, and I'm just going to kind of have them popping out just for show. So if we have the arms go halfway down the drone, right? Then that means that we have 83 millimeters. 83 millimeters to inches. So 83 millimeters to inches is 3.3¼ inches. So 83 millimeters is 3.25 inch. Right? So what that means, if you multiply that by 2, that's the maximum prop size that you could run without losing all your thrust by going over the body. So we want to try to avoid going over the body. Even though the body would be a small portion, we could maybe go a little bit bigger, but if you go bigger, when you fold the arms, the props will stick out the side. Right? You don't want to do that. Also, the props will stick this way. So this way and this way. So we're going to have like some sort. These might have to be like slightly above each other just for the props to clear each other. And then maybe they'll like, as they slide out, they'll slide down. So like one will slide up, one will slide down. And then when they go in, they will miss each other and allow the props to go into the frame. So you don't have to take the props off. You don't have to fold the props, nothing like that. You can run APCs or whatever you want to run. So maximum prop size, what I would go is I would lose maybe that 1/2 inch and run 6-inch props, maybe 6 1/4. So I'll give you a 1/4 inch gap here in front of the body. So maybe 6 1/4, and that will run really good efficiency. I've run it through that efficiency calculator you might have seen in some of my rule of thumb series, and that runs, I think it was like 8 to 10 grams per watt. Super efficient. If they're the next option is gearing. So another option that I would like to try is to gear the Mavic, gear a Mavic equivalent with, try to run a brushless inrunner, and then 3D print out of some of the samples that I have of the IGUS iGlide kind of Teflon-like oil impregnated filament, so that it will be able to 3D print my own gears and create my own gear trains to gear these props down to get maximum efficiency. I think on there it was saying that it was going to run about, I think it was like 8 amps. I think it was like 8 amps. 8 amps per motor times 4 is equal to 32. And then we have let's say a 2200, and then the next thing is the battery. The battery would be a lithium ion, especially with that low, a 2200. So what is 32 divided by 2.2? Ooh, 14. It's got to be at least a 14C rated lithium ion. Let's see. Here's a 3400. Okay, so here's another option. What is it called? Titan battery. Oops. Alright, let me see. Here's 3S battery. So there's a 3S 35 milliwatt, 35 amp hour. So here's a lithium ion pack. Here's an example. We'd probably build our own, but here's a Titan example of a Titan pack, which is a lithium ion pack. It's got 3.5 amp hours at 3 cell with 60 watt endurance. Technical data sheet. What is its C rating? Discharge. Burst 35 amps at 10C. So it lasts for a few seconds. So we would have to drop that down. Constant, it's recommending 7 amps. So we would need to drop this down considerably. Well, here's a fast discharge pack, which is probably stuff in parallel. Technical data sheet, and this is $20, $20 pack, right? Way cheaper than the Vision 2 Phantom battery packs. Discharge 77 amps, 30C, constant 11 amps, 4C, which is barely more than the other packs. So we definitely need to go bigger props and bigger motors geared to drop down that amp rating consistently. So we'll go more into that. Last thing that we're going to go over here is before we dive deeper into this option in the next video is cameras. So the one thing that I really like about this option of building my own is that, for example, let's say you bought a Mavic Air. When you buy the Mavic Air, you are locked in with that camera until you buy another quadcopter, because you can't just replace that camera out. However, on a Phantom and on your custom built, aerial photography, you could buy different cameras each year and put on different cameras, and they'll support them as long as they have output for live HDMI output for FPV, or you could have a separate FPV camera and not even worry about that anymore. So you could keep buying new cameras. For the Mavic Air, I mean, it's a Savage camera, but you'll be stuck with that 100. Let's go into specs. You'll be stuck with that. It's got electronic shutter, not a mechanical shutter. You'll be stuck with that maximum bit rate of 100 megabits per second and 4K only. So in the future, in like 3 or 4 years, we might have 8K cameras, right? So you'll be stuck with that camera that's on the Mavic Air. Not saying that's a bad camera. Obviously, it's the best camera on a drone right now. But you'll be stuck with that camera. However, on mine, I could buy the newest and greatest camera each year, right? I could get a newer camera. So, for example, if I was sticking just with GoPro 4, I would say. So, and even you could be on the budget, which means that you're trailing by about a year or 2 years. So my idea is to get a used GoPro Black 4 or a GoPro 5 Session. But you could find these cheap on eBay for people selling them used for under $100 with a whole bunch of other attachments, and I could use them for all different types of videos to increase my production quality of my videos. Or you could go with the GoPro Black 5 Session, which goes for about $130. All of which are very comparable to the camera on the Mavic Pro and slightly worse than the Mavic Air. So, yeah. And then the year after that, go with the Black 6. And then a year after, let's say if I start with the 4, then I'll go with the Black 5 next year, let's say. And the Black 6 the next year, so they would be on Black 8 that year. So you could just follow and just each year spend $100, and then by the time that, let's say I spend $200 to build this guy, not including the camera, so let's say $300 with the camera. I spend another $100 to get a Black 5. I spend another $100 to get a Black 6, so I could spend another 7. I could buy another 7 versions of cameras before I hit the price that you spend on a Mavic Air. So I would be on 7 plus 7, and then 4, 6, 11 is 12. I would be on GoPro 12 Black, and then you would still have Mavic Air, right? But this is obviously 7 years in the future, right? And ideally is have all the same things that it has. It may be even better optimization for efficiency, battery, weight, motor selection, balance, options. Obviously, completely open source firmware. I could load whatever I want onto these boards. They're not locked down. Yeah, all different kinds of things. So, in summary, just to sum this up really quick, because we are over time, this video is basically talking about what I want in a aerial photography. Number 1, stable platform. Number 2, portable. Very easy to fold, maybe like fold itself together or do something to be easier to take it around and go on trips with. That's number 2. Number 3, great battery life, at least 20 minutes plus. Just like Mavic and stuff. So basically I want it to be as good, if not better, than a Mavic Air. That's basically what I want. I want it to be as good, if not better, than Mavic Air. So portability, 4K, high flight time, long flight times, 20 minutes plus. Way cheaper, obviously. Open source, be able to do whatever I want. GPS lock, all that stuff. Basically, almost all the features of a Mavic Air, except for probably not going to do the obstacle avoidance. And the following stuff is not really that big of a deal, but might try to add that later. And 3D printed custom frame, all stuff open source. So that is what I'm looking to do. I'm basically looking to build a Mavic Air on a budget, and be able to do aerial photography and maybe even sell those services and then make money back, pay off that debt of building that drone obviously pretty quickly. So if I started right now, if it was $300, it would take me at $20 a week. What is that? 15 weeks? Yeah, 15 weeks. So that would be 15 weeks to build it if I started from now. So obviously the videos will be spread out, and I'll be doing also other videos in the development series as well. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. That's just kind of my thoughts on what I was thinking of doing. We'll see. I might just immediately try to convert the Phantom and then see how that works out. And then if that does not work out, return it back to stock and then sell it. And work on my own. But what I'll probably do is I'll probably build my own first. Or before I sell it, build my own so I have a converted Phantom. And we'll be looking at all the options for it. Like gimbals, cameras, all that kind of stuff. Alright, so this has been Steven from RC Engineering. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video and listening. Please check out, if you want to help push this development along, check out my Patreon link in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Peace.